Welcome, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your producer and host of the show, Dr. Lino Martinez. This is your motivational podcast of people's incredible journeys. Oh yeah, let's do this. Welcome back, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lino Martinez. Today, I would love to welcome Logan Lessar, a National Motocross Champion, business owner, and online coach. He helps people develop an unbreakable mindset and become the best version of themselves physically and mentally so they can eliminate their vices, push through their limiting beliefs, and dominate anything they pursue in life. Sounds like my kind of guy. Welcome to A Little Less Fear podcast, Logan.
Thanks, man. Good to be here. I'm excited.
Awesome. So am I. So, hey, I love that you were a motocross champion. How did that even start? Tell us about your journey. How did everything begin?
Yeah, man. So the motocross journey is kind of funny because I technically started riding before I was even born because my mom raced at a national. I want to say it was Washougal, but I could be wrong with that. But she raced a national literally while pregnant with me. So I was on a bike before I was even born. But no, and then I officially started riding somewhere at around the age of 2. And then I also started skiing at 18 months. So you can tell my parents are a little,
Wow.
they were like, all right, we're going to get them into this stuff right away. But no, I'm grateful for that. And then I started like officially racing around like the age of 8. And then basically just raced for my whole life. That was my whole life up until basically last year when I decided to go all in on the business side of things, not the entrepreneurship side of things. But no, this started from a very young age.
That's incredible. You were born into it. So you were born to do it pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. No, both my parents had been doing it my dad got my mom into it, and then they both raced at a pretty high level. And I think they both won numerous championships, and then that led me to through my career I've won like upwards of 15 state championships here in Colorado, and then a few national championships, as well as placed top 5s, top 10s at some of the biggest races in the country.
And are you competing anymore?
I haven't in a while. I raced last year at Loretta Lynn's, which funny enough, Loretta Lynn's is the biggest amateur national race in the US. People from all over the world will try to qualify for Loretta's and then go there, which funny enough, it's literally happening right now this week. So it's been my brother's actually there. He's been absolutely killing it, which I'm really, really pumped for. I'm super pumped for him. He's been doing really, really well. But no, it's a weird feeling. It's my first time not going in like quite a few years. So it's definitely interesting, but I might make a comeback at some point.
So what made you switch to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I started my first business at 15, and it was funny. I didn't actually plan on being an entrepreneur or anything like that. I didn't even know what the word entrepreneurship was.
Yeah.
And then I literally remember the day I was 15. I was literally sitting on my bed just during the middle of the day watching YouTube, which I'm assuming it was something regarding video games, maybe Fortnite at the time, who knows. But I was just watching something stupid. And then an ad came up by Alex Becker, funny enough, and he was talking about drop shipping. And that whole concept just like it clicked in my head. I was like, okay, that actually makes sense. Like it makes sense how that could work. So I just looked into that and kind of went down the rabbit hole of that. And for whatever reason, I just got really like laser focused on trying to go all the way with that. I actually, I searched up, it was e-commerce on Instagram. And funny enough, my really good friend, Courtney, who eventually became my business partner, he was the first one who popped up there. And so I literally met him through Instagram and everything, which that's a long story, but that's what got me into it. And then basically I went from drop shipping, which I'm not going to lie, that didn't go my way. I didn't do very well with that, lost a lot of money. And then that led me into the agency space. And that's where Courtney and I partnered up. And then, yeah, I still run my agency now on the side. And then currently I'm focusing on building my personal brand and helping people like you mentioned at the beginning.
Tell us more about the agency side.
Yeah, so basically I got into the agency, which Courtney had already done some stuff with the agencies, and he basically told me, he was like, hey dude, agencies are a great business model to learn basically every area of business, because with an agency you have to learn how to get clients, how to find leads, how to sell, so you're learning sales. You have to learn how to market, obviously how to provide the service for the clients, how to deal with clients and build a relationship, how to hire people, how to manage those people, how to deal with happy clients, how to deal with angry clients. You kind of learn the whole spectrum of business from an agency. So that was kind of, and it takes basically no startup cost. So that was kind of how I got into it. And then after starting, I had originally started one in the real estate space, but then that just wasn't really picking up the pace. And then Courtney had started his own and basically invited me to come work with him. And after a few months, I was like, hey, dude, you and I could really take this all the way. Why don't we partner on this? And we basically did that, worked on that for multiple years. And I'm still actually currently working on that, the agency's Centra site. But yeah, that's kind of on the side now. But it's a long story from me going to, that's actually what led me to going to South Africa at 17 and meeting up with Courtney and everything.
What'd you do in South Africa at 17? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So basically I was racing, it was 2021 and I was racing all year, went to Loretta's that year. I think I placed top 10 at Loretta's that year, which that was my first time doing that. So that was really incredible. And then basically directly after Loretta Lynn's, it was so stupid. It was this it was supposed to be just this fun mess around race called the Dealer Cup, and where like all the different dealers come together, and it's just supposed to be a fun thing. Well, my very first race there, I ended up wrecking and I broke my collarbone.
Holy moly.
And I immediately was like I was immediately like, shit, I'm not going to be able to race.
Collarbone in South Africa?
No. This is here. So it was at a race here. Oh, okay, yeah, no, it was actually here in Colorado. But I broke it, and then immediately I was like, I'm not going to be able to race the rest of the year. And one of my biggest races is in November, at the end of November, and I knew I wasn't going to be ready for that, because there's a lot of athletes and people out there who they'll get hurt and then they'll push it and they'll go race as soon as possible. I have never been that way. I've been the type of person that I want it to heal. I want to be ready. Well, I don't want to mess. I don't want to mess myself up for the long term. It's just simply not worth it. Exactly. So I've seen people who will just go out there, and I've also seen people who will literally get hurt, and then as soon as they possibly can, they'll get back on the bike, and then sure enough, they get hurt again. And I've just seen it too many times that I was like, I'm not riding until that thing is fully healed. So I decided that basically I was going to be done for the rest of the year. Courtney and Courtney's actually, he lives in South Africa, which he was in Johannesburg at the time. Basically, him and I had been talking about me going down there at some point. I just didn't know when, because I had been so busy racing and stuff. I was like, I don't know, because if I'm going to go all the way over there, I'm going to be there for at least a month, which is a long time. And basically that happened, and I was like, okay, perfect timing. So we ended up planning it. I ended up flying down there. That was very difficult to convince the parents to let me go, because I was only 17. Plus, I had actually never met Courtney in person before. It had 100% been an online. No, he had been in South Africa this whole time. I'd been working with him for 2 years at this point. Whoa. So I trusted him. Him and I were good friends. We had gone through a lot at that point. It just had been all virtual. So that was hard to convince the parents to do, because I was going to be flying there by myself and staying at his house. So it was a interesting dilemma there, but long story short, I ended up going. Most amazing experience ever. I went and stayed at his house at the beginning for the first couple weeks working together. And then basically after 2 weeks, I decided I wanted to go stay at my own place. So I went and rented my own Airbnb in Rosebank, which was a 5-minute walk from the office that we would work at. And then I ended up staying there, and I bounced from a few different Airbnbs throughout my trip.
And so then when and how did you transition to becoming an online coach? Did this lead you there?
Yeah, 100%. Because I'll be honest, when I first started my agency, all I wanted to do was make money. Like I was just money hungry. When I first joined Courtney, I just wanted to land clients, get the commission and all those sorts of things. Once I actually got in and him and I partnered and I started working with the clients, I started actually being in charge of their results. I saw like what we were doing and I saw the difference between getting results for a client and not getting results. And it really just shifted my mind from that money hungry to actually wanting to help these guys grow their business and get results.
Great.
Like genuinely, it was the worst feeling in the world when I knew we weren't getting results for a client. And like throughout running my agency, I've invested so much of my time and I invested a lot of my own money, like just to try and get their business working, like just to just to try and do everything possible to just get those results. And sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't, but that eventually just learning that and realizing how much I actually like helping people get the result they want, that eventually led me to discovering kind of the online coaching space, which has definitely been more recent. But the main reason I wanted to do it was because obviously I learned that I really like to help people. But aside from that, I've gone through a major journey these last few years on the mindset side of things, that's really just completely changed the trajectory of my life overall. That started in racing, and then that translated directly to business. And then obviously I learned through my experience running the business, going to South Africa and traveling on my own at such a young age, and just overall a lot of experiences building on top of each other. And I've helped quite a few people just around me, including my own family, kind of push through their own limiting beliefs, their vices, things like that, and just kind of overall realize that there's a better version of themselves that they can become, which will lead to living a better life that they'll enjoy more. And after seeing kind of them transform, I decided, I want to help other people do that too. So I've been really enjoying that.
How did you help your family transform?
Yeah. So specifically my mom, I have the most amazing parents in the world. Like I'll say that 100%. And my mom specifically, basically she's seen me go through this whole entrepreneur journey and just learn a lot, go through the ups and downs. And throughout that, her and I have actually gone to multiple conferences and events. Like we went to one in Las Vegas together to go see Bradley, Andy Elliott, Sam Taggart. Those were the three like keynote speakers. And then we went to another one in Miami, also with Bradley and a few other pretty big speakers. And basically her and I have done a lot together. And basically I helped her kind of realize, because she's a realtor, and I basically opened her eyes to other avenues and other things, other opportunities that there are out there. Like now she's constantly listening to podcasts. She's constantly trying to level up her mindset, as well as just kind of educate herself on other things outside of just being a real estate agent, which she's been for like 23 years now or something like that. But I kind of just helped her realize like, hey, there's a lot more out there to achieve and to obtain that you can get, which she's thanked me for that quite a bit. But aside from that, more recently, I've been helping both mom and dad get in shape physically and basically follow my program and everything, as well as a few of my friends as well. One of my friends actually lost 10 pounds in the first 30 days, which was pretty crazy.
That is awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Wow, it sounds really motivating and inspiring. Tell us more about leveling up your mindset.
Yeah, so everything to me stems from your mindset. I think that's the foundation of everything. Which kind of stemming off of that, one reason why I also go on the physical side and I help people on the fitness is because I think that is part of the foundation of building a really strong mindset. Because in order to be I don't understand how you can be confident and how you can have a good view of yourself if you don't like what you see in the mirror and you know that you can be better physically. Like, I think that is the starting point. Because for me personally, like I'll say in full confidence that when I look in the mirror, I genuinely am like, I like that. Like, I like what I see. It makes me confident. Like, I like seeing the growth there. And that immediately just kind of sets my mind to positivity, as well as gives me that confidence to go through my day. So that's also why I start the day with gym first thing in the morning at 5 a.m. every day. Is it just sets up my day with a win, gets my mind right, and also just helps me know like, hey, I'm leveling myself up every single day, first thing in the morning. So I think fitness is like the number one thing. And then aside from that, your mindset is so big because, and it's funny because everybody thinks it's like this cheesy thing, like your mindset's everything because they hear it all the time.
Yeah.
But I actually experienced it. The first time I experienced it was racing, because for years, basically my whole career until like 2 years ago, my mind is what held me back the most, because I'd go to practice. I'm sure basically every athlete in the world can relate to this, but I'd practice and I would feel on top of the world. I would kill it. I'd feel so good. I'd feel like I was the fastest rider in the world. But as soon as I got to the race, it completely shifted. And for some reason, I just could not perform. Like I would just get on the gate or on the track and I'd be super nervous. I'd be super tense. I'd be scared of losing. I'd be scared of getting hurt. I'd be afraid of the other competitors out there. I would have this major imposter syndrome of, I can't compete with that guy. I can't beat that guy, or whatever it is. And that would hold me back from riding to my ultimate potential, or even just be able to ride as well as I did at practice. Which that bothered me for the longest time. Like there was countless races that, and a lot of tears shed as well, and a lot of emotions that went from me throughout my parents as well, just because it was infuriating how I would get to the race and I just
like
could not perform. Yeah, exactly. It was horrible. And then the major shift that happened is I was at Loretta's, funny enough. I was at Loretta's in 2021. And basically my first, because I have at Loretta's, if you qualify in both classes, because you can only qualify in 2 at a time, you'll have 6 total races, and each race is about 25 minutes long. And basically I think it was my first race. I don't think I had done 2 yet, but I had my first one. It just did not go well. I had that performance anxiety, and it just did not go the way I wanted it to. And I had been preparing so hard for Loretta's, the big show, leading up to it. And my mom actually is the one who found this mindset coach who was there at the race. And she was like, hey, Logan, I think that this lady seems really, really cool. She seems like she might be able to help. So I went and met with her, and that was like the biggest shift I ever had. And she taught me something that ended up working for me, because a lot of the things like mindset also comes down to you personally, because there's so many different things that you can do to really take control of your mind. But certain things are going to click for some people and certain things are going to click for others. Right. There's a lot of stuff that didn't work for me. Like I'd try all kinds of breathing techniques on the gate. I would try at Loretta's. I tried thinking about just other things aside from the race. Like I'd be sitting on the gate next to the other 41 riders getting ready to go, and I'd be thinking about everything I possibly could other than the race. I'd be thinking like, that client needs me to do this, or I need to do this later. Like while I'm on the gate, probably 2 minutes from going off. Like I'd just be trying all these different things in order to try to just lock it in.
Yeah.
And then I met with her, and she ended up teaching me some techniques that actually worked. And that is what really showed me like, holy shit, when you actually take control of your mind, it's crazy. Because directly after working with her and having this shift and trying it, my very next race and for the remainder of the week, I went from like getting terrible starts and not riding very well, not even feeling very well throughout the race, getting maybe top like 20 or 30. My last couple races, I was literally competing and battling with the top 5 guys in the class and in the country, like battling for the top 5 position. And it was just like, holy crap. Like I was actually riding well. I felt really good on the track. I felt really confident.
So what did she teach you, the mindset coach, that got you to become finally confident on the track?
Yeah, so it's actually a very interesting technique. So it's basically, there's a book called The Alter Ego Effect. Now, I haven't read it yet, funny enough, but it's the concept that she taught me is from that book. And basically what it is that I mapped out. So I've always looked up to Ryan Dungey. He's like one of the top racers ever. He's a total legend. I've always looked up to him. And what I did is I mapped out exactly who Ryan Dungey was. I took my iPad and literally wrote down Ryan Dungey, and I wrote out a whole biography of him. Like this is how he came up through the ranks. This is what his childhood looked like. This is how he trained. This is how he showed up at the race. This is what he was thinking while he was at the race. This is what his mindset was like. Like I was basically mapping out this whole persona around Ryan Dungey.
Match his mindset.
Not only match, but actually become him. And this is, I have a really strong imagination. So I actually told this concept to my brother. This didn't work for him. It just didn't click for him. Like I said, some things will click for some people, some things will click for others. Right. This clicked for me, where basically I mapped out exactly who he was, and then I would read everything that I wrote prior to the race. And then to even add on an extra layer of intensity with it, I added an anchor, which was a Tic Tac. So like the little candy, I got a thing of Tic Tacs, and it's a mint flavored Tic Tac. I still have it. I still do this every single time I ride, but it's in my gear bag. But basically I eat a Tic Tac, and when I eat that Tic Tac, as crazy as it sounds, I basically am no longer Logan. I'm now Ryan Dungey. I now think and act the exact way that I wrote out. So I'm now him. And anytime I have those like anxious thoughts or those stresses or those like, I'm scared I'm going to lose, or what if I fall or anything, I basically look at it as that's Logan trying to get back in. We need to kick him the hell out.
Yeah.
And basically that's how I thought. And I'd be on the gate all the way up until I was like on the gate, probably 2 minutes from actually going out and racing. I wouldn't eat the Tic Tac. I actually put it in a Ziploc bag and basically rolled it up. I made sure my parents didn't know I was doing this because I wanted it to be my own thing.
Yeah.
And I would roll it up in this plastic bag, and then I'd put it in my pants. And then like 2 minutes before the race was going to start, I'd take it out and I'd quickly just eat the Tic Tac. And then I'd close my eyes and just kind of let the minty flavor take over. And then as soon as I'd open them, I was now basically thinking like, I'm Ryan Dungey. I'm no longer Logan.
That makes sense.
And
that's the alter ego effect.
Exactly. And it was the craziest thing too, because as soon as I did that, like prior to having the Tic Tac, I would feel like my butterflies in my stomach. I'd be nervous. I'd be thinking all these things. And I would let those thoughts come because I wanted to kind of be like, okay, this is Logan. Like Logan's the one thinking this. Logan's the one who gets anxious, all this stuff. So I'd let those emotions come. As soon as I took that Tic Tac, that all of that was gone. Like it was literally just gone. It was like it zapped away. It worked for me. And then anytime I was out on the track and I kind of lost, or I started to lose focus, or I started to kind of drift off or anything like that, I'd say something like, I'm Ryan Dungey. And then it would kind of like click me back because I remembered how he thought, because I mapped it all out on my iPad. I was like, this is how he thinks while he's out on the track. So as soon as I like reminded myself that I'm Ryan, I was like, I'm not Logan, I'm Ryan. So I think this way. And then it would kind of help me regain focus. It's the craziest concept, but it worked.
Oh, I've actually read of concepts like this before. Absolutely. And it works for a lot of people. I'm glad that it's worked for you, Logan. That's awesome. Hey, Logan, let's talk about limiting beliefs. What are limiting beliefs?
Yeah, limiting beliefs. So I love what Alex Hormozi says about this, which is the only beliefs that you truly believe are the ones that you never question. It's something like that. It's like you question every belief except the ones that you truly believe because you never think to question those. It's something like that. Right. And I just find that very interesting. But there's just so many limiting beliefs in all different areas. Like when it comes to the motocross, for example, like if I show up to the track and I show up to a race and I'm looking around and I see the competition and I see some of these like top guys, top kids, then if I looked around and I thought, well, he trains here at this like top facility and his dad is XYZ, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that I could compete with him. I don't think I could beat him. That's a limiting belief. That's myself literally self-sabotaging, saying I'm not deserving. And you'll never surpass your ability, or your success will never surpass the view that you have on yourself. So if I view myself that way and I view myself as less than this guy or this guy or this guy, right, there's no way I'm going to beat him. Because even out on the track, like if I'm even catching the guy and I'm on him, as soon as I see it's him, I was thinking before the race that there's no way I could beat him. I will literally self-sabotage and slow down subconsciously because I already believe there's no way I can beat that guy. Even if I'm catching him, like I will literally do that. So that's eliminating that type of limiting belief, which that came with the Ryan Dungey thing, which is one of the things I remember I wrote down, which I actually haven't read that in a while. I need to read it again. But one of the things I wrote down is that he doesn't care who is on the gate and who he's racing against. He knows that no matter what, he is capable of winning. And that's kind of one of the, that's eliminating one of those limiting beliefs, because instead of thinking, well, that guy is this guy and he trains here, it's like, it doesn't matter. I don't care who's out there. They're all the same. I can beat them.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
So that's one example of getting rid of a limiting belief. And then on the business side,
yeah, how do you help your clients push through the limited beliefs? How do you help your clients?
So first off, I think it's about building confidence. That's one thing. You got to build confidence in yourself and have a better view of yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to push through those types of things. Because, I mean, somebody, just using the racing as an analogy, because that's what we've been talking about, somebody could just show up to the track and they might, even if they thought like they could do the whole Ryan Dungey thing and they could try to use that. But if they don't have the like back end work and training and sacrifice that they put in before the race, it's not going to matter. Like they need to have the confidence in themselves from, I put in the work. I did the training. I went to the gym. I trained constantly on the bike, off the bike, everything leading up to this race. So yes, I am Ryan Dungey, and yes, I can beat any of these guys out here. But if you didn't train and you like sat on your butt and never rode or anything like that, then the whole like, I'm Ryan Dungey, I can beat any of these guys, your mind is going to tell you, okay, that's a load of shit. Like, no, you can't. Sure. You've been sitting on your butt for the last couple of months. Like, these guys have been training. So you still need to build that confidence, which comes from doing the hard things and putting in the work and building yourself up. So I think that's one big thing. And then it also just comes down to really nailing down what that limiting belief is and what it is that's holding you back, in order to kind of figure out like, okay, well, why is it that you believe that? Like, what instilled that belief in you in the first place?
Right.
Like, what gave you that belief? Who told you that in the first place?
Exactly.
Like, what was their motive for telling you that? And basically just pushing through and kind of just working through it individually, you know?
Could you give us an example of someone that you helped push through their limiting beliefs?
Yeah, let me think here. So,
like any specific clients recently?
Yeah, so one of my buddies who I've been working with, and he basically, it was funny. I can't even remember how we reconnected, because we were really good friends in high school. And then I ended up getting homeschooled, went to South Africa and went through all that. And I was in Cape Town at the time. So we disconnected for a few years. I was in Cape Town at the time, and he ended up, we reconnected somehow. But basically we started talking, and he's super smart. He got into Colorado School of Mines, which is like a very high level school, not easy to get into whatsoever. And basically he just was stuck. He was really stuck there because he just didn't really know what he was doing there. He told me that by the end of the 4 years that he was going to be there, and when we reconnected, this was during his first semester. So like, this was very beginning of him getting there. He said that by the end of the 4 years, he was going to be $200,000 in debt. And I was like, okay, well, if you don't know why you're there, let's figure that out, because that's a bit like 4 years from now, when you're 200 grand in debt, you better be in the place that you wanted to be in.
Right.
So I was like, well, let's figure this out, because one of the limiting beliefs that he had, and I think a lot of people have, is that they just go with what their parents told them, you know, like his parents wanted him to go to college. They wanted him to, he's got a couple brothers, and one of them, I think, works at SpaceX. And then another one, like his brothers are doing pretty well. Like they also went through college and did all of that. So he kind of had that same thought of, well, they did it, so I mean, that's going to be my path. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what my parents told me I need to do. So that was a limiting belief he had, is that he had to just go with the same process, you know? And I basically talked with him, and I was like, well, dude, what do you really want here? Like, do you really want, because I think he was doing something in computer science, which, funny enough, since I knew him in high school, I was working on my business stuff while we were both in high school, and he was also doing business. He was doing something in construction that was doing really well, and then he was also doing things online, like with trading stocks and cryptocurrency, which that sounds a little like obviously iffy, but he had been doing it for a long time. Like I can actually say he legitimately knows what he's doing there. But he had been doing that successfully. So I was even questioning, I was like, why are you at college? Like, I don't know why, because you were doing really well before. I don't know why you didn't just keep doing that, you know? And basically after talking with him, it was kind of just this instilled belief that what he had to do is the only way to go through life and actually be quote unquote successful is to go to college, get the degree, and get the job and whatever that entails. And he was going to be going into an area of computer science. And after kind of talking with him for a while, he ended up figuring out that he doesn't want to do computer science. He doesn't want to go get that normal job. He doesn't want to do what his brothers are currently doing. And instead, he kind of mapped out and figured out what it is that he actually wants. And in order to get that, it's through business. And he actually got back into business. He's now working on building his business currently. And he ended up dropping out. And he's told me numerous times that he genuinely thinks that I saved his life because he was feeling very, very depressed and overall just lost. Because he didn't, trapped as well. Cause I mean, that's a lot of money. And I know that he was the one paying for it. And I was like, yeah, dude, like we need to figure this out because 4 years from now, when you're 200 grand in debt, I don't want you to be stuck. But from what he told me, he wasn't even sure if he was going to make it that long. So it was very serious in terms of like helping him figure out if that was the right route or not.
And I'm sure you helping your buddy get towards the right direction, that also helps you in ways to keep helping other people as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I mean, originally I will say I kind of, which I think there is a kind of a negative notion or connotation on the whole online coaching space and like the whole guru thing. I had never wanted to be a part of it. Like I looked at it and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like the online coach, blah, blah, blah. Like I just didn't want to be a part of that. But then after like talking with him and then after helping my parents, after helping my brother as well, and just helping people around me, I kind of just realized like, I really like this. Like I genuinely haven't felt as much of that fulfilling feeling and joy as I do when I'm like helping someone like that and I see them transforming. And that same buddy is the one who I mentioned. I don't think I mentioned it while we were on the podcast, but he's the one who in my program, because I got him into the fitness side of it like probably a month and a half ago now. In the first 30 days, he lost 10 pounds, which was crazy. And now he's continuing to lose that and just get more and more kind of defined, which is really, really awesome. Because what he had originally done, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, is he was super skinny. And I'm talking like really, really skinny. I saw a picture of him and this wasn't even that long ago. And I was like, dude, that's gnarly. And he just immediately thought, okay, I need to bulk up. So he started just taking a ton of mass gainer and just really bulking. But I got back from Cape Town a few months ago. And in that time period is when he started like bulking up and everything. And I got back and I was impressed because I was like, wow, you've really like built up. But then when we went to the gym and we were in the locker room changing, I looked over and I was like, okay, like he looked fat. And I was like, okay, that's not the goal here. Right. So that's when I started kind of working with him and I got him on his macronutrients and an actual fitness training program. And now he's actually starting to get into that more defined shape and everything. But yeah, going back to the main thing, I haven't had any better feeling than kind of seeing that result and everything. And then obviously hearing the feedback from it.
So as a coach, you emphasize developing an iron mindset. Could you elaborate on what this means and how someone can cultivate it?
Yeah. So my goal every day, the way that I look at every day is I want to be able to end the day and answer the two questions, which is am I better now than I was yesterday? And if the answer is yes, then that means I won the day. And second is that, am I closer to where I want to go, to my end vision, my main goal? Am I closer to that? If the answer to those two questions is yes, then that was a win for a day. If the answers are no, then that was technically a loss, and I need to figure out what went wrong that day so that it doesn't happen again. And overall, in order to kind of grow that way and to go through the whole day growing and developing physically, mentally, and financially, in order to do that, it really comes down to mindset and staying so disciplined and being able to push those limiting beliefs and vices, because you're not going to be able to get where you want to go with your vision and goal. First of all, if you don't even know what it is. So that's kind of the first thing that I help people with is, what is it you really want? And not only that, but why? Because I went through that. Like when I went to Cape Town for the first time, I genuinely went through like a week long, nothing crazy, but a week long period where I genuinely felt kind of depressed because I lost my, I didn't know why I was doing it. Like I was 10,000 miles away from anybody I knew. Even Courtney wasn't even in Cape Town at the time. So I landed there. I was 18 at the time and first time in Cape Town, never been there. I literally booked my Airbnb from home here in Colorado in the US. So I'd never even seen it before. And it was in a little bit of a sketchy area. So I landed, got there, and overall I was a little flustered. And I just kind of was sitting there and I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I 10,000 miles from home? I basically have semi given up the racing to go all in on this. And I was genuinely terrified that like 5 years from now, even if I did end up reaching the goals financially and with my business and everything, I was like, the last thing I want is to look back and regret giving up the racing, giving up all that family time, all those types of things. So I genuinely went into like a long period of figuring out, why am I doing this? Like, what is it I really want? So that's the first thing that I help people with, because that is by far the most important.
So is that one of the first questions you ask them? What is it you really want and why?
What is it they really want and why? And then I also have this full, it's like, how long is it? It's like 18 pages or 20 pages. And I call it my manifesto, but it's basically like an 18 to 20 page manifesto that outlines exactly who I am, who I want to become, where I want to go, why I want to get there, all those types of things. And I basically have people do that. And then ideally you review it and read through it every single day in the morning and at night, because that is what's going to remind you on a daily basis of why you're doing what you're doing and why it's worth it. So that's been really, really powerful. But that, and then going back to like the importance of the iron mindset and everything, is throughout the day, you're going to face so much adversity that comes your way, specifically just in here. Like when you're trying to get in shape and everything and you got to go to the gym, you have to fight that mental battle of getting to the gym. And then if you're trying to get in shape and you have to, if you're overweight, for example, and you need to shed, that means that you need to get over the snacking and you got to stop eating that food constantly. And you have to get a little bit stricter on what you're eating. And that's difficult. Like it's difficult because you're going to feel hungry and that's all up here. Like that's 100% in your head and you got to learn how to push through that and get through that. And then also just like being able to do the hard things. If you're working on a business or you're working on whatever, you got to be able to do those hard things regardless of how you feel, the emotions you're feeling. And that's one more thing I'll mention real quick because it's really important that I learned, which funny enough, Courtney's the one who taught me this in South Africa because I did not have my emotions under control at the time. And I embarrassed myself a few times because of it, but he's the one who taught me it because genuinely, he's one of the calmest people I've ever met in my entire life. And it literally would drive me crazy because I was like, dude, I don't know how you're so calm right now. But one thing he taught me is no matter what, you have to, I call it emotional oscillation, and you have to keep that in control because most people are like this, where it's just a constant up and down when it comes to emotions. And everybody knows that person who's like, when they're high, like they are just at an all-time high, the happiest person, the most joyful person ever. But that same person, when they're low, they're really low. Like they are just really sad, really low. Whereas what I've learned, which took me a bit to figure this out because I didn't think it was the right way to go, but now I understand it is staying in the middle where it doesn't matter what's happening, just staying basically calm at all times. It doesn't matter how good something's happening or how amazing today is or how bad it is or how horrible it is, just staying at that same constant level. And that has been like the biggest shift for me because in Cape Town, not in Cape Town. It was the first time I went to Johannesburg. I had gone weeks without landing a client, and I ended up landing my biggest client ever. I got on one single call, never met the guy before, and ended up closing it it was like a $14,000 deal. And I was ecstatic. I was
Yeah.
so excited. And
Oh.
I ran into like where Courtney and the team was, and I was just jumping up and down, so excited. And he kind of went with it. But then afterwards, he talked to me and he was like, "Hey, dude, I know you're excited, but you just gotta," he reminded me of this. I didn't get it. I was like, yeah, but I want to feel excitement. I want to get excited. I want to get pumped.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to understand how important it actually is to be that way, because then it doesn't matter what's happening in your business, what's happening in your life, what's happening with your family. You can always be in control of your emotions and your
I love
reactions
this.
to how you're feeling. And that is the biggest thing. Which funny enough, sorry, I keep talking, but I've worked with my family on this as well, because I've explained this to them and I've told them like they need to stay more like this, because my dad and my mom, which if they're listening, you guys know I'm right here. uh, they could go up and down quite a bit versus staying calm. And I'm talking like really sweating the small stuff, like sweating the really small things. And it's just not worth the energy. It's just not worth it. It's better to just stay calm and
Oh
really
yeah.
look at it and be like, is this really that big of a deal? No, it's not. I might as well just move on. So yeah, but long story short, I talked for a while there, but that's a huge one.
I love that. Definitely keeping your center ground and keeping yourself at that leveled state also keeps you in the
Yeah.
present moment too. Because if you're
Yeah.
too excited, then you really start thinking about the future. And then if you start thinking too much about the future, that can give you anxiety. But then if
Yeah.
you, and you go the opposite way and you become depressed, you'll start thinking about the past and things that went wrong before. And you start bringing back what went wrong into the present moment, which doesn't make sense to do that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not going to help you in any way to succeed and to elevate yourself and to create that iron mindset that you're talking about. But if you become leveled and you stay at that level state, you're right here, right now, and more of that awesomeness is possible when you're in that state.
Exactly. 100%. You're a lot more present in everything. Which the best way that I've found to kind of stay that calm is that when you find yourself, like if you can catch yourself when you're really excited or when you're about to be really excited, or if something's genuinely bothering you and you're really angry, this is something that that I came to understand, and I was like, whoa, like that's crazy, is that you can actually control how you feel, which a lot of people don't think that they can. They're like, I'm going to feel angry because of XYZ or blah, blah, blah. But actually, if you look at a situation, it doesn't matter how bad or how good it is. It doesn't matter if you landed the biggest client ever or you lost all your clients or whatever it is. You can look at that situation and be like, this happened, but I'm still just going to feel fine. I'm still going to feel
Exactly.
calm. I'm still just going to go and do the things I need to do. Like, I'm not going to feel like, I can actually confidently say I haven't felt stress in over probably a year and a half, simply because of this whole remaining calm thing and being able to look at whatever situation is happening and basically deciding like, no, I'm going to feel fine about this. I'm going to feel okay about this. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I lost my biggest client here. Yeah, this literally happened. I was in Cape Town and I landed my biggest client, and then they ended up disputing the charge like 2 weeks later. And it was devastating. But at the same time, I was like, I'm going to deal with this. I can't remember who said it, but I love the quote where it's, you need to care about things mentally, but not emotionally.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important.
What, how else can what else do you think that means? Let's break that down some more.
That quote,
Yeah.
I think it just means people will react. I think it comes down to reacting.
Hmm.
People will feel things, they'll feel all these emotions, and stuff will happen, and immediately they'll react to it. And it's really just about kind of seeing the situation and seeing how messed up it is, how horrible it is, how
Mm.
ridiculous it is, or how amazing it is, and how unbelievable. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. This is amazing. Looking at it and being like, okay, this is important. Like, for example, if something bad happens, it's like, okay, this is important. I need to figure out how to fix this, how to handle this. And this is what we need to do, XYZ, versus being the person who's like freaks out, gets super stressed, super anxious,
Sure.
which this stuff, actually, I didn't even mention it. the whole like staying calm thing, that also contributes to eliminating your vices, because what leads to drinking alcohol, what leads to smoking, what leads to this stuff? Trying to escape the reality of the negative emotions, the negative feelings that you
Exactly.
have, and trying to get to that higher state, even though those vices are simply just masking it and it's not fixing anything. And I've seen this firsthand with my family members. Like, I've had family members who went really, really deep down the rabbit hole of like the worst drugs you can imagine. Luckily, they came back from it, but I saw that experience. I saw how horrible it was, and I've seen just other people in the family as well deal with some things like that. And from seeing that and seeing kind of the effects of it, I've learned firsthand it does not fix anything at all.
Right.
It
Oh no.
simply makes it worse.
Totally.
So, which I had a conversation that got very heated with one of my family members about this. And I basically was trying to explain to them, like, listen, no matter what's happening, doesn't matter how much shit is hitting the fan, staying calm. I was trying to explain that if I was to ask someone, like, who do you think
It could
would
be
come
so
out?
complicated talking to family members about this stuff, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. It can become very heated, but luckily I stood my ground. The next day they ended up messaging me, and they were like, I'm really glad that we had that conversation. You've got me thinking differently. And I was like, I'm glad. But I basically told them, I was like, answer me this. Who do you think would come out in a better situation? The person who say they're in the exact same situation, everything's hitting the fan, everything's going wrong in their business, like nothing is going right, and they are just stressed to the max. Who do you think would come out in the better situation at the end of the day? The person who remains calm, cares about it mentally, looks at the situation and tries to figure out, okay, things are going wrong, this isn't good, we need to fix it, here's what we can do in order to fix this situation, we're going to try that, and we're going to try and fix it. That person, or the person who freaks out, gets super stressed, starts drinking alcohol to try and
Right.
quote unquote calm down, and is super anxious,
Yeah.
is can't sleep at night,
I'm
is
with you.
waking up in the middle of the night. Who do you think is going to handle that situation better? And what was funny is during that conversation, they disagreed with me. They got very heated. But then and this is why I also stood my ground, because that analogy is like, well, obviously the calm person is going to come out in a better situation. Like, they're going to handle that way better. So that's why it's like so important to just remain that calm, remain in control. And going back to your main question, that's what I mean when I say approaching things and caring about them mentally, but not emotionally, not letting the emotions get in the way.
I love that, Logan. Thanks so much for sharing. Definitely some
Yeah.
incredible food for thought. Here, how can our viewers, our watchers, and our listeners find you if they need an online coach such as yourself, Logan?
Yeah, for sure. They can just go to my Instagram. That's my home base. I'm posting on there
Great.
every single day, motivation as well as just info like this. I think food for thought. So I'm posting on there every day. Logan_Lessar is the Instagram handle. And then I'm also posting on my story, kind of like my daily routine, waking up at 4 a.m, going to the gym, kind of my thoughts throughout the day and kind of how I'm approaching the day. And yeah, so if anybody wants to kind of get some value throughout the day, they could go follow me. And then if they also want to reach out to me, they can message me directly on there, whether they just have a question or they want some help getting the program, whatever it is. So yeah, just my Instagram.
Logan Lessar, everybody here on A Little Less Fear podcast. You can find him on Instagram at Logan_Lessar, as an LE, as in Sam, AR. Thanks so much for sharing your incredible wisdom that you have at your young age. You've done so much already. You've already accomplished. Just keep going, man. Keep that incredible iron mindset. I really appreciate you.
100%. I really enjoyed it. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Dr. Lino Show, A Little Less Fear podcast. If you'd like to get a hold of me, you can do so by sending me an email at a little less fear at gmail.com or through an inquiry from my website at www.alittlelessfear.com, where you will always find information on where to get my book. You can get my book on Amazon and Amazon paperback version, Kindle or Kindle Unlimited. And I also create incredible visual video poetry for people that are interested in marketing, or even just to send a personal note to anybody or somebody that you might love. So yeah, check it out. I love it. Poetry is my passion, one of my other passions, aside from doing what I do right now, which is giving you all the motivation that you need to keep growing, to keep motivating people, motivating yourself, and to keep expanding. I love you all so much. Have a blessed day and take care. Rock on.
Awesome.